do understand, and I'm not a warmonger, I believe that is peace through strength. The no-fly zone has been established 3 times in history, and it has worked the 3 times. Because when the thugs know that they're going to be confronting the leader of the free world, they think about it twice.
Yeah, but
and
wait
I
a minute.
leave you, and I pose you, and I leave you with this question. What are we going to do as the United States, the leader of the free world,
wait a minute.
Vladimir Putin sent a chemical weapon against the
Excuse me, Congresswoman. Peace through strength. What should happen if a NATO jet, whether it's French or Italian or from Holland or the United States, goes up in the no-fly zone, encounters a Russian jet fighter, and they get into a dogfight, and our plane is shot down, or we shot down the Russians? You know, isn't that really...
What about the opposite?
Isn't that the beginning
what about the opposite?
of
what
World
about
War III?
No.
It's
of
not?
course, but then what, let me put... Now, what I'm saying is that I understand that's a possible scenario. What about this other scenario? What about if Vladimir Putin hears the message and doesn't fly any more planes?
You think he's going to shrink
what
back?
happened the
I mean,
last
do you
3
honestly think Vladimir Putin is going to say, oh my goodness, they've got their jets up there, I'm just not going to fly mine in there anymore?
Your guess is as good as the Biden administration. No one really knows, but I do know that the empirical evidence shows, that history shows, that the last 3 times, the only 3 times a no-fly zone has been imposed, it has worked.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question, Congresswoman, and you are a member House Foreign Affairs Committee, so you are privy to information journalists don't have, and I acknowledge that. What is the end game here? Zelensky spoke to you and other members of Congress this week. He asked for armaments, he asked for humanitarian help, he asked for a no-fly zone. But his people are now negotiating, reportedly, having peace talks with Russian counterparts. What should be the end game here for him, and what should the United States do to help stop the fighting?
I believe, and this is my own personal opinion, that whatever Zelensky negotiates, we should honor. They are the ones under the bullets, not us. We should help them. And if they believe that they need to negotiate and those are the terms of the agreement, so be it. Again, that's a hypothetical question. So what we know right now is that the Russians are sending the hypersonic missiles. We know that Zelensky does not have the MiG-29s. We know that he doesn't have the drones that he needs from Turkey. We know that the CIA could be doing the same thing, that military convoy, that we could be sending more armament that we are not doing right now, what we did in Afghanistan. So there are still a few different things that we can do it from the military point of view that we are not doing because the Biden administration fears the escalatory mode, or he doesn't want escalate, which I understand, but that's a very thin line. Okay. And but I thought we were going to talk about immigration.
Well, I'm sad to say that we are out of time. I want to say you are the sponsor of the Dignity Bill, and the next time you're with us, we will talk about the bill. Appreciate your time this morning very much. All right, Maria.
My love to you and the audience. Thank you for the opportunity.
You're quite welcome. All right, next, changes to school testing is testing the patience of Florida teachers, why they are again going against Governor DeSantis. That is next. In the midst of all the other big news that happened this week, you might have missed this story, but the teachers of Florida, they did not. Governor Ron DeSantis on Tuesday signed into law a bill that puts an end to the big final end-of-year exams that students in Florida have taken for years, the FSA. But from now on, instead of the FSA, the Florida Student Assessment Exam, students in grades 3 through 10 are going to be taking the Florida Assessment of Student Thinking, or FAST test. Consists of testing 3 times a year. The governor likes it, predicts it's going to produce better results, less anxiety, and less testing. But Florida teachers' unions disagree. Carol Garanskas is vice president of the Florida Education Association. She joins us now live from St. Augustine. Carol, good morning. Glad to see you.
Good morning, Michael. I'm happy to be here.
All right. So the governor says, hey, this is the greatest thing since the number 2 pencil for education. What do you say?
Well, I say that back in September, we were, excited to hear that the governor wanted to eliminate the FSA and to reduce testing for students. However, what was passed this last session is not that answer. Instead, we have increased testing. We've removed 1 end-of-year exam, and we put in 3 progress monitoring exams. So by my math, we've now added 2 tests to a student's plate from 3rd to 10th grade, or 3rd to 12th grade.
All right. Well, I have not read the bill, I confess, but on the other hand, I'm a little confused. What is a progress monitoring exam? Is that sort of a test light, or what is it?
So it's what we already do in almost every district, if not all districts. When the students arrive in August, we do an exam, a first progress monitoring exam. We get that data. We work with that data if we've got the planning time to make sure that each child is their needs are met. We do it again in January, and now we have to do it again in May. The districts already do this progress monitoring. Teachers invented progress monitoring. But now the governor has said that we need to do it 3 times per the state. So that's 3 district exams, 3 state exams, but no additional time for teachers to be able to review all of that data. So we are a little disappointed in the fact that we did not reduce testing. We have actually, in fact, increased testing on our students.
Yeah. Carol, we know that Carla Hernandez-Mance, the head of the Teachers Union, the United Teachers of Dade, and Anna Fusco from Broward, they have both spoken out against this. But what are individual teachers telling you? Are they saying, look, I've got a system, seems to work pretty well, but now I'll actually be testing my students more and having to prepare them more? What do they say?
Well, that's exactly it. And they've not been given the additional time to review all of that data. That data per each student, you've got, 18 to 26 children in every class. When are you supposed to review that data? If the bill had only said to us, let's eliminate district testing, it might have helped. But I'm certainly against having a teacher review 6 exams throughout a year when they're already doing their own progress monitoring in the classroom every week. We invented it, as I said. And so I agree with Anna and Carla. This is not what teachers wanted. They were very excited, as we were, in September when the governor did state that we were going to lessen the amount of testing. Listen, we all know we've been testing for 20 odd years in the state of Florida. And in all that time, our 3rd graders have not gotten above a 50%, reading at grade level. Can you only imagine if we had taken all of that testing time and given it back to the teachers, and that would have allowed them to actually teach the students in their classroom versus test the students in their classroom?
Yeah, those 3rd grade test results for reading particularly are really dismal, and we've been waiting for them for at least 20 years that we've been doing this to step up. So I guess the question, Carol, is the teachers of Florida, your folks, are going to have to do this at least for the next school year. If it doesn't seem to work out very well, the legislature, Senator Manny Diaz and other leaders in this area, they've imposed this. How do you change things around and show them if it doesn't work to change it back?
Well, I don't know that there's any changing back. Those that are in charge are telling us we need to test more, not less, based on the law that they have passed. I think what really is going to make a difference, obviously, are parents. Parents being involved in saying, wait, you promised us less testing, but you've given us more testing. We see this in the area of the teacher shortage. You know, we've been testing, as I said, for 20 plus years. And each year we've seen teachers just leave the profession. We have been told by the Florida Department of Ed that come June, there will be a 9,000 teacher shortage in the state of Florida. And we're currently working between a 4,500 and 5,000 education staff professional shortage in this state.
Well,
testing has driven teachers away from the profession. They can't teach. And if you can't teach, that's what you went into this field for. You loved teaching, not testing.
No, I understand. Well, that's a scary prospect, losing even more teachers than we're losing right now. Carol Goranskas, thank you so much for being with us, and we'll stay on top of this, see what happens in the coming year.
Thank you so much for having me, Michael.
Sure enough. All right, up next, a South Florida lawmaker who tried to get legislation passed to tighten up regulation laws on condo safety, but couldn't get it across the finish line. He will join us next. When something catastrophic happens in the state of Florida and new laws and regulations could repair or at least mitigate the damage, the state legislature almost always takes action. They did that with stricter gun laws after the massacre at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High. But after the catastrophic collapse of the Champlain Towers South last summer, lawmakers once again said they would pass a bill to help prevent such tragedies happening in the future, but they didn't. They came very close, but they could not push it across the finish line. State Representative Daniel Paris of Westchester and Miami-Dade was the primary sponsor of the bill in the House, and he joins us now live. Representative Paris, Danny, great to see you. How are you?
Hey, Mr. Putney, thanks for having me as always. I'm doing well.
That's all right. And please, Michael on this end is perfectly fine. So explain to us, I know you and Senator Jennifer Bradley over in the Florida Senate tried very hard and came close. Why couldn't you get this bill passed?
Unfortunately, Michael, we had been working on this piece of legislation for many months, but when it came towards the end, the negotiations stalled. Specifically in the Florida House, we passed unanimously, bipartisan support, Republicans and Democrats, without a no vote, we passed a very aggressive reform of condominiums and condominiums association. When we sent that over to the Senate wasn't as palatable as we were in the House on making such an aggressive change. And so once the Senate received the House version, it was essentially gutted, and it was replaced with solely the recertification language, which changes the amount of years that a condominium has to receive a certification from 40 years to less. It depends on how far they were from the ocean, but it could have been 30 or 25 years. But the House version was passed off the House floor.
Yeah. Well, as I understand it, current Florida law allows condo association boards to waive the requirement that they hold money in reserve for building repairs. And you wanted to make sure, I take it, you and your House colleagues wanted to take away the ability to waive that so that the repairs would be made. Is that right?
That's exactly right, Michael. We did not want the associations to have the ability to waive reserves, specifically when it came to the structural integrity of a building, of a condominium. If an association wanted to not collect the money for the landscaping in front of their welcome gate, well, so be it. But the structural integrity of a building should never be compromised. And so we did give associations 3 years, not only to perform the reserve study of exactly how much was going to have to be recuperated, but we were also going to give them 3 years to recuperate the money themselves. But that wasn't something that the Senate was willing to take on.
Yeah. As I recall, the Champlain Towers South had let maintenance go for many years, maybe 30 years, and the engineering company they hired estimated that the structural repairs were going to cost in the vicinity of $15 million. It would have been per unit, I guess, in the vicinity of $500,000, an assessment of $500,000. I mean, that's the situation that you really want to avoid. I mean, number one, that you have damage that severe, and number two, that the repairs are just too expensive.
And the only way you can avoid that is you hold the association accountable, you hold the CAMs accountable, and you make sure that they're collecting the necessary amounts of money from the unit owners over many years, as opposed to waiting until the last minute and hitting the unit owner with an assessment of $500,000. We were trying to avoid exactly what you just explained, and we were so gracious that we actually gave them 3 years to the associations for them to begin to recuperate the funds. But without that hardcore language in the bill, what's going to happen is associations are going to continue to waive reserves. Even if the threshold was 99% of unit owners have to agree to waive reserves in order for an association to do so, it doesn't matter. The association is going to get the required votes in order for there to not be an assessment or an increase in their monthly association fees. And we have to hold the associations accountable at some point. And I was hoping that would have started this session. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to come back stronger, harder, and faster next year to make sure that the House and the Senate together pass meaningful legislation with regards to Surfside.
Yeah. You know, I think we should insert at some point here, for people who don't follow the legislature, that the lobby for condominium owners and associations in the state of Florida is just a huge force, lots of money. They have a law firm, and I'm not speaking in any derogatory manner, but the Becker Polyak firm in Broward County sort of wrote the Florida condo laws for the last 20 or 30 years. How do you break that kind of power grip that they have on condominium laws and reforms?
Yeah, but look, Michael, I'll be very honest with you. I'm not the greatest ally of the lobby corps, and I take that as a badge of honor. But I wouldn't blame this on Becker Polyak. I wouldn't blame this on a certain lobby corps or a certain lobby group. I wouldn't blame this failure on that. I would simply say that I think the potential burden on homeowners is something that influenced the Senate a lot more than it influenced me, regardless of who was lobbying for it. Yeah. And look, I worked very closely with Senator Bradley, and she did a very good job of working hard to make sure that we can have a product that Floridians would be proud of. But unfortunately, we both fell short.
Yeah. Well, I just want to make clear for the record here, I'm not blaming Becker Polyak either. I mean, they are a competent, large, powerful firm. They do a good job for their clients. Danny Paris, let me ask you, right now there are 1.5 million condo units in Florida, 131,000 of those units are in buildings that are 20 to 30 years old, and only Miami-Dade and Broward and a few individual cities require regular inspections and certification after 40 years. So are those people in jeopardy right now?
Here's the good thing, Michael. The good thing is in Miami and Broward County and many other counties, the recertification language is already changing and it is being lowered by the county commissioners. But for those counties that aren't having their commissioners aggressively push reform when it comes to the recertification of a condominium, many of the mortgage holders of these condominiums are now forcing recertification exams sooner than the 40 years. Some are actually now requiring reserve studies mandatory every 3 or 5 years, which some condominiums have never had a reserve study done, or have at least not had it abided by once it's been completed. But those changes are happening just because of the concern that took place after Surfside, naturally.
We understand. So I guess bottom line here is you came that close to passing your bill this year. It seems to be a big gap between you and how the Senate feels. Can you get it done next year?
Yeah, look, I think we can get it done next year. We weren't that far off, Michael. I think the version that the Senate passed off the House floor after they placed an amendment and the version that was passed off the House floor, those two versions look very, very far apart. But during negotiations, we were actually a lot closer. But at the end, what was resolved to by the Senate was a simpler version of mine, which only had the recertification language, and we weren't willing to take that up.
Yeah. Representative Danny Perez, great to speak with you. Thank you for your time this morning, and good luck getting this bill through in the next session of the legislature next 9 months from now.
Yes, thank you, Michael, and happy Sunday to everyone watching.
Thank you very much. Okay. Up next, we're going to focus on a really bad drug problem in South Florida, mainly in Broward County. It's fentanyl, and it is killing people. There is an epidemic going on in the state of Florida, and we are not talking about COVID-19. It is an epidemic of fentanyl, the synthetic opioid that is about 100 times more powerful than morphine. Drug dealers are mixing it with cocaine, and the results are deadly. You remember recently that several students on spring break in Broward collapsed and nearly died after they snorted cocaine that had been laced with fentanyl. Turns out this was not an isolated case. On the very same day of that incident in Wilton Manors, a total of 34 people overdosed in Broward County It happens every day in Broward, which seems to be the epicenter of the fentanyl epidemic in our state, and we want to talk about it with Dr. Terry Stockman. She is the chair of the surveillance team of the United Way of Broward's Commission on Behavioral and Health and Drug Prevention. She tracks drug use trends, recommends action to the commission. Dr. Stockman, good afternoon now. Glad to have you with us. Can you hear us? We're having trouble hearing you.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you
Okay.
hear me now?
I've got you now loud and clear. So tell us, what the heck is going on in Broward? I mean, the last year that figures were available, nearly 650 people overdosed and died, mainly from fentanyl. I mean, this is an astounding number. I'm sure you're troubled by it.
Oh, yes, yes. It's been a lot of new psychoactive substances that are manufactured or synthetically made in a laboratory and then bought, through the dark web or on the internet, depending on whether the compound has been scheduled in the United States as illegal or not.
Yeah. Well, according to BSO and Wilton Manors Police, it was just a 21-year-old kind of run-of-the-mill drug dealer who allegedly sold the cocaine with the fentanyl to these 6 young people, 4 of whom were West Point cadets and came close to dying a few days ago. But you talk about this coming in from the dark web. I mean, how would somebody buy it on the dark web?
They just can get on the internet and they can purchase these things. And then it's very cheap. It's cheaper than the drug itself. So many other street drugs besides cocaine are laced or contaminated with fentanyl and fentanyl analogs and other opioid type substances.
Right.
So your methamphetamine, your cocaine, your ecstasy, almost everything can be contaminated.
Well, we have seen over the last many years that China, for a long time, was a source of these illicit drugs, often, impure and dangerous. But the Postal Service, the DEA, have been cracking down. Are they still coming in from China and abroad?
Oh, yes. What happens when one drug gets scheduled in the United States, then the chemists in the other parts of the world just move on to a analog where they just simply make a small change in the structure of the compound, and therefore it's no longer illegal.
Wow.
And they use that. So we should be checking on these different analogs every 3 to 6 months.
Doctor, I have to say, I did see the front page story in the Sun Sentinel. I'm glad the media is paying more attention, and we're paying attention this morning to this fentanyl crisis. I think crisis is not an overstatement. But I do not hear a lot of political leaders in South Florida and Broward County saying, we've got to address this issue immediately. Where are political leaders, the mayor, commissioners, so forth?
I think we have to do this on a federal level to schedule the compounds. So it takes it's a long time. We're always behind the curve, if you will, in the toxicology laboratory because legislation takes time. And by the time you legislate something, then the chemists have created a whole new, brand new compound.
Right. No, I understand. Dr. Stockman, do you think that the Broward Sheriff's Office and other police agencies in Broward County are doing a good job of trying to ferret out the fentanyl trade and dealers who are using it in cocaine?
Oh, yes, I think so. Especially, part of our United Way Commission is that we have that surveillance committee. We meet once a month and we talk about emerging trends and new drug trends. The Attorney General just announced a drug called ISO, And that actually is a non-fentanyl, but opioid synthetic compound. So that's very potent.
Yeah. Doctor, we know from various reports, of course, we've seen reports from the upper Midwest, from Kentucky and Ohio, West Virginia, where some of these communities in those states have just been, decimated by drug use, by opioids, and we have seen reports about how police and EMTs go in with Narcan. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. Explain how that works, how you treat somebody who is OD'd.
Okay, when there's something called the receptors in the body, and the drug, it's kind of like a lock and key. So the drugs will fit into the receptor and have the effect. Now, if you can block that receptor with another drug, then the fentanyl can't get onto the receptor to have its effect. And that's how Narcan works. It blocks that receptor so that your fentanyl can't get on there, and it immediately reverses it. You'll see someone who is almost unconscious given Narcan, and they'll be immediately aroused.
Yeah, it's an amazing antidote. Just briefly tell us, it's a little surprising but very pleasant to know, very good to know, that the United Way of Broward is so deeply involved in this issue. How is the United Way involved in trying to track and stop drug use?
Well, as I said, we meet once a month. I chair that meeting. Anyone is invited to attend. It's a virtual meeting, and it is a broad cross-section of the community, as far as epidemiologists, people from Department of Health, toxicologists, treatment providers, hospital personnel, and we all share what we're seeing in Broward County. And then we can go to the commission and say, this is what's going on. And the commission then has another committee that can go and do education, do legislation. So we have different prongs of how to handle the problem. Yeah. And we have really good communication amongst all those different various groups.
Yeah. Well, thanks to you, to the Commission, to the United Way of Broward for doing this really critical work, and we hope you get a handle on this fentanyl epidemic that we are seeing. Dr. Stockman, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back. If you missed part of our show or want to watch it again, you can go to the This Week in South Florida podcast, scan this QR code with your smartphone, and it will take you right to the This Week in South Florida section of local10.com. Thanks so much for being with us today. Remember, as always, stay informed, get involved. Have a great Sunday.
We're following some breaking news overnight. A shooting on South Beach sending spring breakers running. New video of the aftermath right on Ocean Drive. We're live with an update on how the victims are doing.
Also breaking overnight, back-to-back active investigations. Officers swarming two South Florida neighborhoods. The update just from police.
The man who police say opened fire on a transit bus is a no-show in court. The new charges he's now facing and his lengthy criminal past.
Plus, a new season ushering in a new weather pattern. A live look at our Miami Tower Cam. We're tracking your first day of spring's forecast.
Live from WPLG, Local 10 News starts right now.
And as Cyrus just said, we are counting down to spring this morning. The new season officially arrives right at 11:33. I know it's very specific, which means we're now less than 3 hours away from spring being sprung. Good morning. It's Sunday, March 20th. I'm Andrew Perez.
And I'm Syra On. We're in for Alex Finney this morning, and Weather Authority meteorologist Jordan Patrick is here for Brandon. He's standing by with our forecast.
Where has that countdown been all morning long? I've been doing that math in my head. South Florida, yesterday is the first day of spring in just about 2.5 hours, and we are off on a warm note. Notice the place to be today is Hollywood Beach. Atlantic waters are very calm right now. We have a calm northwesterly wind, so beach and boating conditions are very nice, at least for the time being. Later on this afternoon, very different story. Fort Lauderdale looking very beautiful this Sunday fun day morning with plenty of sunshine. 76 degrees though, dew point of 74. That's a very tropical air mass. It's very warm and humid when you walk outside. Notice though we are nice and dry from Broward County all the way down towards the lower Keys. We're still watching these showers that are offshore, but they continue to push away from us and towards the Bahamas. So I do think from now until early afternoon, we'll stay mostly dry with plenty of sunshine. So do any outdoor activities, beach, pool, boating now, because watch what happens later on this afternoon. We get those showers and thunderstorms developing just after 4 o'clock, some of which could be strong to severe. We are under a marginal risk for severe weather later on this afternoon. We'll go more detailed with these storms and what we can expect for the work week ahead in just a few minutes.
All right, let's get back to that breaking news. A shooting on South Beach sends spring breakers just running. This is new video of the aftermath. Ocean Drive quickly cleared by police, leaving the area empty at a time when it's usually just packed with people. We now know that 3 people were shot in this incident. All of those victims rushed to the hospital.
Local 10's Trent Kelly is live where it all went down with what detectives are telling us this morning. What is that, Trent?
Well, Syra and Andrew, this shooting, as you mentioned, did happen last night, just about 3 blocks away from where we're standing. It was right on the corner of Ocean Drive and 8th Street, the heart of South Beach. As you mentioned, many people were out when this happened. Those gunshots causing people to scramble for safety, as we see some brand new video showing us the aftermath of this chaotic shooting. Gunshots captured on viewer video after a gunman opened fire along Ocean Drive and 8th Street overnight. Panicked partiers scrambling for safety just after midnight after 3 people were shot and taken to the hospital. The chaotic scene marring what's otherwise been a relatively tame spring break compared to previous years, with thousands swarming South Beach to party.
It's been lit. We've been having all the fun.
The overnight shooting marring what's otherwise been a relatively tame spring break, at least compared to previous years, with thousands flocking to South Beach to party.
Lit. We done everything.
Lit.
Boat rides, eating good.
It's energy. That's all it is. It's energy out here. Like,
still, there's been some rowdiness. This video from business owner Mitch Novick shows crowds running through traffic on Friday, and in another incident, a man is seen knocking a scooter to the ground. He's later confronted by police, pushes an officer before fighting with others and getting tased. Police also shutting down Ocean Drive to traffic after spring breakers took over the street on Friday.
crazy.
Never seen that many people in my life.
It comes as police keep a watchful eye on the area, with drinking on the beach now banned, all floats, tents, loud music, and large coolers also prohibited from the sand.
Stuff is crazy, but I mean, there's a lot of police out here and stuff, so I mean, it's safe, you know?
And here's a live look at Ocean Drive at this hour. Those crowds now gone, police clearing out as well. Again, that shooting happening earlier this morning, sending 3 people to area hospitals. According to police, all 3 are expected to survive, but at this point it is not clear if that shooter was ever arrested last night. We are working to get some additional details from police. As soon as we hear back, we'll let you know right here on Local 10 News. But for now, that is the very latest live here from South Beach this morning. I'm Trent Kelly, Local 10 News.
And as we've seen, there can be a dangerous side to spring break, especially when drugs are involved. That's why retired firefighter paramedic Luis Garcia is on a mission to save lives. All weekend long, he's handing out 600 Narcan sprays on public beaches across South Florida. Earlier this month in Wilton Manors, a group of West Point cadets who were in town for spring break overdosed on cocaine laced with fentanyl. First responders administered Narcan to reverse those effects.
Also breaking overnight, police responding to another shooting, this one in the city of Miami. Officers say 3 men were shot near Northeast 62nd Street and 4th Avenue. They are stable, or they were when crews took them to the hospital. We're working to get more additional details. No word just yet on a motive or any arrest. Police say an overnight shooting in Northwest Miami-Dade is fatal. Someone heard gunshots and stopped an officer who found the victim near Northwest 107th Street and 7th Avenue. That's just 1 block away from US 441 South. Medics say that man died on the scene. Officers are not giving out any information just yet.
The man police say shot 4 people on a Broward County Transit bus refusing to appear in court yesterday, but the judge still read the charges against Jamal Myers. He's facing charges including murder and attempted murder. Myers has an extensive criminal record with more than 20 felony arrests. This time, police claim the 34-year-old fired nearly 24 rounds with a semi-automatic handgun on Thursday, shooting 4 people. The hero bus driver went against traffic on Broward Boulevard to make it to the Fort Lauderdale police station. Myers' motive is still unclear.
Right now, police in Margate, they really need your help. Take a quick look at your screen here. They're trying to locate 14-year-old Queen Beeman Tarver. They believe she may be in danger. We're told she left her house around midnight wearing a pink shirt, white Adidas pants, and purple slides.
Now to the war in Ukraine. Russia's attacks escalate yet again. Kremlin forces claim they've used hypersonic missiles for the first time in this war. Those rockets seen here during training exercises before the invasion began. The missile is said to fly 5 times the speed of sound and is nearly impossible to shoot down. This news comes as we learn of a new attack on civilians this morning. Ukrainian officials reporting that Russia's military has bombed a school in Mariupol where about 400 people had sought refuge.
It's still unclear how many casualties there were at this time. The city of Mariupol, though, it's currently under siege by Russia. Ukrainian President Zelensky posted a new video on Facebook this morning calling the sustained attacks there an act of terror that will be remembered for centuries.
Russian strikes also hitting the city of Mykolaiv Friday, where we're learning at least 20 Ukrainian troops were killed. The southern city that sits on the Black Sea has been a frequent target of attacks. It's a key strategic target for Russia's land forces in any move to capture Ukraine's 3rd largest city, Odessa.
The war in Ukraine creating this massive humanitarian crisis, too. Video from the capital city of Kyiv showing 71 children from an orphanage, all under the age of 4 years old. They've been evacuated to safety after spending 2 weeks holed up in a basement to take shelter from Russian shelling. They managed to escape the combat zone through a humanitarian corridor. The humanitarian crisis is only worsening. The UN fears we're witnessing only the first wave of refugees and that the total number could triple.
3.3 million Ukrainians have fled their country, most of them arriving in Poland, many lining up to receive government social services. The staggering number of refugees streaming from Ukrainian towns and cities reduced to rubble. The UN estimating more than 20% of the country's population, almost 10 million people, have now either been displaced from their homes or have left the country altogether. At this Polish border crossing, the UN's Office of Migration assisting some of the millions.
What we are seeing is many people have been separated from their families and they really want to stay close to the border in the hopes that the war will be over soon and they can return.
Others, like Anita Varag, a doctor from Kyiv, hoping to eventually come to America.
I'll be interested in move to USA because so much opportunities.
So far, the U.S. has taken in only a few hundred Ukrainian refugees, some even claiming asylum at the U.S.-Mexico border.
We're just trying to understand where our new home will be.
for children, the war possibly even more unsettling as places like this Polish theater become a temporary home. But in a Rome hospital, one visitor, Pope Francis, doing his best to spread hope to the war's smallest victims, sick Ukrainian children who are now themselves refugees. UNICEF is warning that children fleeing the war are at a heightened risk of being trafficked and exploited. At least 500 unaccompanied children have crossed into Romania. The number going to Poland and elsewhere is likely much higher. And coming up on This Week, the journalist who made global headlines for this public protest, joining George Stephanopoulos for her first interview with an American broadcast network. Marina Oysyannikova talks about her decision to protest Russia's invasion of Ukraine live on state television. Watch it right here on Local 10 this morning at 10:30.
Well, right now, it's been just over 5 months since the Hollywood Police Department lost one of its own. Officer Yandy Chirino was killed in the line of duty while responding to a suspicious person call in the early morning hours of October 17th. And today, his fellow men and women in uniform are honoring his life and others who died in the line of duty.
The Hollywood Police Department is hosting a memorial motorcycle ride up Florida's East Coast. And Local 10's Parker Branton is live in Hollywood to show us how this annual tradition got its start.
Syra, good morning. This first leg of the motorcycle ride to honor police officers who lost their lives in the line of duty across the state of Florida. The ceremony will start happening right here at the Hollywood Police Department. You can see off in the distance there that ceremony is happening right now as they're playing several different songs to honor the lives of those officers. One of their own here, Hollywood police officer Yandy Chirino, just a few months ago losing his life in the Emerald Hills neighborhood not far from the police department. He is one of those officers that will be honored here this morning, along with Special Agent Laura Ann Schwarzenberger and Special Agent Daniel Alphen with the FBI. Those are two other officers who they are honoring here today this morning as well. This is all part of the 9463 Foundation. They put this all together. They bring their motorcycles out here. They start this ride. They say really their goal is to just keep the memory of these officers alive and to meet with the family and friends of the fallen officers. And they actually give them some gifts of special mementos that they can keep forever in honor of their loved ones. So the ceremonial start is happening right now. You can see all of these motorcycles lined up. They're going to head up the Florida East Coast in a few hours to actually honor K-9 officers, two of them later today. So that is their plan. This is a 6-day motorcycle ride. They will eventually end up in the panhandle of Florida. Again, they are honoring lives of officers who lost their lives in the line of duty all across the state of Florida. And coming up at 10 o'clock, we've got an interview with one of the organizers to talk a little bit more about what they're doing here. For now, we are live in Hollywood. I'm Parker Branton, Local 10 News.
Parker, thank you. In a one and only exclusive Local 10 hearing from a heartbroken daughter, police are still looking for her mother's killer after she was gunned down just steps from her own front door. Dominique Lemons was shot and killed outside of her apartment in El Portal less than a week ago. A witness tells Local 10 she heard Dominique talking to someone before the gunfire went off, and her daughter believes that Dominique knew her killer.
She was last seen entering her front door, trying to come inside her home with her back turned. She died on her porch like she was nothing. That's not fair. I just know in my heart There was been in here with my mom. There was been here.
Aside from 18-year-old Jashani, who you just heard from there, Lemons also leaves behind two other children. If you know anything at all that could help solve this case, call Miami-Dade Crime Stoppers. That number 305-471-TIPS.
And an update now. Fort Lauderdale's famed Shooter's Waterfront is back open. It had been closed since Tuesday when police say a former employee shot and killed a server. People packed the restaurant on Saturday after it reopened Friday night. Angel Candelaria is now behind bars without bond on a murder charge. Police claim he shot Jordan Sadiq during a dispute near the Tiki Bar. Sadiq later died at the hospital.
New this morning, Gabby Petito's parents are fighting to help families who have lost loved ones who have just vanished. Her father, Joe Petito, now pushing for lawmakers to make a national missing persons database accessible everywhere. It's currently only available in 11 different states. Gabby would have turned 23 years old this weekend. Her body was found in a Wyoming national park last September. She was reported missing 10 days after her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie, returned to their home in Northport. Investigators later discovered Laundrie's skeletal remains in a preserve not very far away from his home. Meanwhile, across Florida, an incredible survival story out of Fort Myers. Twin girls born in Fort Myers are now home after spending more than 30 days in the NICU.
They were considered micro-preemies, born 3 days apart at just micro-preemies rather. At just 22 weeks, Taylor Davis gave birth to Avery and Emerson back in October at Golisano Children's Hospital. She was just 4.5 months pregnant at the time. It was touch and go for many weeks, but both babies are doing great. They were officially released from the hospital last week, and despite the challenges, Davis and her husband, Mark, credit their faith, combined with help from nurses and doctors, with saving their baby girls.
Something tells me Mom and Dad's going to be busy for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to Team No Sleep. All right, still coming up, a massive manhunt for a mass shooting suspect.
Dozens hurt at an event organized to promote nonviolence.
And later, one unlucky fan is cashing in. How Tom Brady is righting a wrong, though, brought on by his unretirement snafu.
And grab the flip-flops and the umbrella. You need the umbrella for the sunshine this morning, but the storms this afternoon. We'll talk more about the severe storms we could possibly be seeing later on today, and a nice, brief little cool down coming our way right after the break.
Breaking overnight, a manhunt underway after police say at least 20 people were shot at a car show in Arkansas. Some of the victims are children. Officials also confirming at least one person has died. The mass shooting happening at an event in the town of Dumas last night. The police chief says multiple gunmen started shooting, but it's unclear why at this point. The event is being held by a local youth empowerment organization that was trying to promote nonviolence.
We just want to send our prayers, all our condolences to our friends and community. We here with y'all. We here with y'all, man. The hood niggas here. And we apologize for all this that happened. This had never happened with us in our event ever.
Police say they have one person in custody, but they are still searching for multiple other shooters.
Some evacuees are returning to their homes, or what's left of them right now, following several devastating wildfires in central Texas. Take a look. They're actually reduced to ash and rubble in many cases. The massive fire prompted Texas governors to sign a disaster declaration for 11 different counties. At last check, the so-called Eastland fire has burned more than 54,000 acres of land. It's only 30% contained.
The nation's capital taking on a rosy hue just in time for spring. Washington, D.C. bursting with color as the iconic cherry blossom trees start to bloom. Every year it brings thousands of visitors to the area, and this year marks the return of the Cherry Blossom Festival. Organizers moved everything to virtual for the last 2 years because of the pandemic.
Spring.
It feels better to see people, without masks going around. Before, you have to be really far away from them. Now, it's almost normal.
Well, with the cherry blooms in stage 5 out of 6, known as the puppy white stage, the National Park Service says peak bloom could come as early as next week.
Those are beautiful, just in time for spring. I feel like it's really important to kind of talk about this again. Why spring starts at exactly 11:33?
Yeah, why didn't it start at midnight, Jordan?
I'm like, that's such a random time.
Well, yeah, and it's a random time every single year because the vernal equinox, which is the beginning of spring, is when the sun is directly over the equator, and the sun's rays are directly over the equator officially at 11:33 this morning. So that's when we classify the official beginning of the spring season. And like I mentioned, we are beginning it today at 11:33. Sunrise this morning was at 7:23. We get the sun setting at around 7:30 this evening. So roughly 12 hours of daylight today, and we'll have roughly 12 hours of nighttime overnight tonight. So enjoy the sunshine that we have today. It's extended because it is the vernal equinox. Plenty of people are going to want to head out to the beach, but do it early because we're expecting storms later on today. Especially when you see these temperatures that we have right now, you're going to want to take a dip in those nice calm Atlantic waters. Already into the mid and upper 70s across the board. A calm northwesterly wind keeping things quiet for now. It's also keeping those showers at bay off in the Atlantic waters towards Bimini, continuing to push towards the Bahamas and away from South Florida. So that shower chance for the coastline, that's pretty much shut down at this point. So we'll stay mostly dry, plenty of sunshine for the rest of the morning and into the early afternoon. That'll help us hit the mid 80s later on today. Heat index will be flirting with the low 90s because of how humid it is. Notice those icons, though, right after 3 o'clock, we start to see those showers and thunderstorms billowing up, some of which could be severe. So because of that, we are under marginal risk for severe weather later on today. Main threats are damaging wind gusts of around 50 miles per hour at times, localized flooding under heavy cells, and we could see some small hail as well. So we need to keep our eyes on that Local 10 Weather Authority app, keeping an eye on these storms. Notice how our in-house model keeps us mostly dry for the remainder of the morning into the early afternoon. But right around 3, 4 o'clock, that's when the showers start bubbling up as a cold front starts to make its way into South Florida, providing for that spark to get the atmosphere juiced up. Notice how even into early evening, 8, 9 o'clock, these showers are remaining around. It's not going to be until later tonight that we finally get these storms to start waning down, and we'll see drier conditions for your Monday. Notice cooler conditions for Monday as well. 85 today, we'll do 81 tomorrow. Not bad, we'll take it. And then we'll see upper 80s once again coming back by the end of the week. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back.
Local 10 weather with Jordan Patrick on the one and only Local 10 News, your weather authority.
Well, Tom Brady is finally responding after someone paid more than $500,000 for his final career touchdown ball.
Must be nice to just have that money to throw around for a football. The pigskin essentially rendered worthless after the Bucs QB walked back his retirement announcement just last week. After hearing about the unfortunate bid, Brady reached out to a popular cryptocurrency company in hopes of making good. The whole conversation playing out on Twitter this weekend. He asked FTX to donate Bitcoin to the charity of the football buyer's choice. But they did him one better. FTX offering to not only donate Bitcoin to a charity, but to give the down and out buyer some Bitcoin as well. We're not sure, though, if it'll make up for the $518,000 he spent on that pretty useless ball.
Yeah, I think Bitcoin's like a $40-something thousand right now. I don't think 40,000 is the same as 500,000. My math isn't always great, but I don't think those numbers are the same.
We know basic math here, okay? Let me tell you, it's hard for me to feel bad for somebody who spends that much money on football.
That's true. You bought a football.
That's just me, okay? All right, 9:26 a.m. on this Sunday. Take a look at that. It is beautiful out there. The water is so calm. It is a nice day for the beach, but there are storms in store. Okay, dun dun dun. Jordan's coming back to explain all of that.
Off the top at 9:30, countdown to confirmation. The Supreme Court nominee preparing to take the hot seat on Capitol Hill.
The Speaker of the House visiting the Sunshine State. The big announcement, Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi came to South Florida to share.
And suspect slap. Dash cam video showing a Florida Highway Patrol officer receiving some assistance after a man refuses to cooperate.
Live from WPLG, Local 10 News starts right now.
Good morning. It is Sunday, March 20th, the first day of spring. I'm Syra Onwer in for Alex.
Almost the first day of spring. Okay,
Right,
we got a few more hours. I'm Andrew Perez. Let's send you right outside, taking a live look at our tower cameras all across South Florida. It is still a beautiful pre-spring, I guess, since it starts at 11:33, Jordan.
Yeah, we have 2 hours, 2 minutes, and 42 seconds. Once again, where's my countdown? South Florida, we are counting down to the official start of spring at 11:33. So technically we still have winter for another 2 hours, but it doesn't feel like it. We're at 78 degrees in the city of Miami. Notice that dew point in the low 70s. So the relative humidity is around 87%, so it feels very warm. Our dew point's in the low 70s, so we are on that sticky side. This is what we normally feel like in late May, early June, so it definitely does not feel like the last few hours of winter, unfortunately. And we are also seeing some showers over there on our radar. Notice how they are continuing to push towards the Bahamas, though, and away from South Florida. There's morning coastal shower chances. That's over with, so we're going to stay mainly dry and sunny for the next few hours. Notice, though, as we enter the afternoon at 2 o'clock, we hit highs in the low to mid 80s. That'll help spark those showers and thunderstorms right around 4 o'clock, some of which could be severe. So because of that, we are on a marginal risk for severe weather later on today. We'll be breaking that down in detail, as well as what we could be seeing later on in the work week in a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Jordan. A historic round of hearings begins on Capitol Hill tomorrow morning.
The Senate Judiciary Committee will consider the nomination of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to serve as the first black woman on the U.S. Supreme Court. When President Biden nominated the first black woman to serve the Supreme Court last month, Ketanji Brown Jackson gave a nod to another trailblazer.
Today, I proudly stand on Judge Motley's shoulders, sharing not only her birthday, but also her steadfast and courageous commitment to equal justice.
Jackson referenced Constance Baker Motley, the first black woman to serve as a federal judge. Now Jackson is poised to inspire another generation of black women in law and shape the nation's highest court.
For too long, our government, our courts, haven't looked like America.
Jackson was nominated to fill the seat soon to be vacated by Justice Stephen Breyer, for whom she actually clerked after graduation from Harvard Law School. Breyer will retire at the end of the court's current term.
Thank you, Mr. President.
The evenly divided Senate confirmed Jackson to her current seat on the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia just last June on a 53-44 vote. Republicans aren't expected to make Jackson's Supreme Court hearings too messy. The court will still have a 6-3 conservative majority after Jackson takes her seat, but some areas of her legal career could draw scrutiny.
She's clearly a sharp lawyer with an impressive resume, but when it comes to the Supreme Court, a core qualification is judicial philosophy.
As Jackson has made the rounds on Capitol Hill, GOP senators have indicated that her time as a public defender will be one of those areas, including work representing detainees at the U.S. military prison at Guantanamo Bay, and her views on the role of race in the U.S. criminal justice system. Democrats will emphasize Jackson's credentials and character at a groundbreaking moment.
Well, I can just tell you that she's a person of quality, integrity, and values, and she has the support across the political spectrum to prove it.
Senate Democratic leaders hope to wrap up the process with a final floor vote by April 8th. So you can watch those confirmation hearings live on Local 10 tomorrow. That gets started right at 11 a.m. Meanwhile, Florida getting $19 billion in new infrastructure funding. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced the investment in Delray Beach yesterday. She spoke at a bridge which has actually been closed since the beginning of the month because of a malfunction. Pelosi says the money could help prevent future inconveniences.
Sometimes we don't have all of the information we need because we don't have all the money we need to check on our infrastructure to make sure that it is, and I'll use this word again and again, safe.
The bipartisan infrastructure law is already paid for. Pelosi says where that money will go should be decided at the local level.
Some tech troubles for Florida Agriculture Commissioner Nikki Fried. Her personal verified Twitter account was hacked. Someone changed Fried's profile picture and tweeted about some sort of NFT launch yesterday afternoon. Her communications director says the account was compromised through a phishing attack. He asked followers not to click on any links. The account has since been made private, so followers cannot see the tweets. Fried is a Democrat running against Ron DeSantis for Florida governor. She'll face off against Congressman Charlie Crist and State Senator Annette Taddeo in the primary.
A traffic stop taking a dangerous turn for a trooper in Tampa. The whole thing, it was actually caught on camera. Take a look.
Okay, come on, let's go.
So the dash cam video shows a scuffle between a trooper and 24-year-old Alexander Hernandez Delgado. They claim he became argumentative and told the officer to leave him alone before throwing punches. Then you can see several drivers, they pull over. They jump in to try and help out the trooper. Troopers arrested Delgado, who's charged with battery on a law enforcement officer. We're told that trooper is expected to be okay.
The U.S. Coast Guard rescuing nearly 200 Haitians from a sailboat on Saturday afternoon. Crews spotted nearly 20 miles off Cape de Mole, Haiti. Officials say the ship was overloaded. And parts of the Caribbean are welcoming royalty this weekend. Prince William and Duchess Kate are visiting 3 Commonwealth countries. The couple sharing these photos of their first stop in Belize. They will also visit Jamaica and the Bahamas on behalf of Queen Elizabeth. It's all part of her Platinum Jubilee year, marking the monarch's 70 years on the British throne. But not everyone is happy about their arrival. The pair was forced to skip out on a stop at a village in Belize after villagers there held protests.
Some of South Florida's bravest receiving a special honor. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue holding its annual Medal Day ceremony on Saturday. This year's event focused on the Surfside condo collapse. Every person who responded received a special mission ribbon.
We're here to honor those individuals for the positive impact they've made. One of those events being the Surfside tragedy that happened, where we had hundreds of responders respond to that event in hopes of making a life safe during that catastrophe.
The department also celebrated employees' devotion to duty during the pandemic.
Now to this week's Dirty Dining report. A restaurant allowed to reopen after apparently cleaning up their act. But did they?
Yeah, when Local 10 News investigator Jeff Weinzier went to ask questions about all of their recent violations, he found that some still existed.
I'm Jeff Weinzier. I'm a television reporter at Local 10 News. Are you in charge of this restaurant?
No, my boss not come back.
Your boss? I think you're the boss.
It's not me.
He has a key. We saw him open up the place, and someone at a neighboring business says he is the man. The place, Asahi Chinese Restaurant. It is at 8152 West McNabb Road. It's in North Lauderdale. A state inspector recently found 19 violations here and ordered the place shut.
The floor is as sticky as can be. There's an ant right there. Wonder if they ever clean this floor. It's disgusting.
On top of the sticky floor inside the kitchen, what appears to be breading left in a bin overnight on the floor, and obviously that would attract pests. Remember, we showed up when they first opened for the day, and this is also after they apparently cleaned up and were allowed to reopen after the state ordered them shut. This place was dirty, man.
No, sir, my boss not here.
Yeah, you're the boss. You have the key. Sir, you have the key. You're the manager.
I like my kid.
Dude, you're going to call your lawyer?
Yeah, I love you.
Why are you going to call your lawyer? This place was dirty. It was ordered shut by the state. According to the recent inspection that led to their ordered closure, the inspector says there was a sink full of gray water backup, full of food debris that had an odor. There was a roach issue, a fly issue. There was a stop sale ordered on raw chicken, ribs, beef, pork tenderloin. All were being stored improperly. They were operating without a license. There was slime on a countertop cutting board, a sewage-like smell coming from a sink that is supposed to be used to clean things. Go up.
You cannot allow coming, okay?
You ever clean the floor? Do you ever mop the floor?
Every day.
No, you don't. This floor? Frank, take a look at this. I asked him if he mopped his floor. He said every day. Take a look at this. Disgusting. And take a close look at this spot behind the restaurant where used cooking oil is stored. We certainly hope these discarded buckets aren't taken into the restaurant kitchen. Asahi was allowed to reopen following an ordered cleanup and reinspection, and frankly, we aren't sure how or why. But you now know what's going on inside this restaurant's kitchen. Jeff Weinzier, Local 10 News.
Oh boy, well, for a list of all the restaurants ordered shut and their violations, just scan the QR code on your screen. It'll take you directly to the Dirty Dining section on our website. Just head to local10.com.
Coming up next, trending on 10, a battle between Kim Kardashian's current and former love interests.
Oh boy, Pete Davidson versus Kanye West, the high dollar offer to get these guys in the boxing ring.
That's what it's come to. Plus, the Dancing with the Stars drama playing out right now on Twitter. Tom Bergeron is getting the last laugh years after he was suddenly replaced.
Well, it's time for Trending on 10. This morning, two feuding celebrities are being offered big bucks to take out their frustrations in the boxing ring.
Now, Kanye West and Pete Davidson, they've been bickering online for days now. Kim Kardashian at the center of their squabble. She's, of course, West's ex-wife and Davidson's current girlfriend. Now, pro boxer Jake Paul is getting in on the argument as well, offering them both $60 million to take their beef to the boxing ring. So far, neither side is showing any interest in taking him up on that offer.
An on-again, off-again Hollywood power couple are taking a big step in their relationship. It looks like J-Lo and Ben are buying a house together. TMZ reporting they're paying more than $50 million on a spectacular estate. The 20,000 square foot home is in Bel Air. It features 10 bedrooms, 17 bathrooms. TMZ says the couple and their kids all plan to move in once the deal is finalized.
That escalated quickly.
Wow.
All right, there's also some Dancing with the Stars drama unfolding on Twitter this morning. The show announcing one of its top producers is leaving. Former host Tom Bergeron was asked to weigh in on that departure. His response was short and sweet, saying, "Karma is a B." Bergeron left Dancing in 2020 when he and co-host Erin Andrews were abruptly ousted and replaced by Tyra Banks. At the time, ABC said the show was headed in a, quote, new creative direction.
Ooh, salty.
Salty and sweet.
Salty kickoff to spring.
All right, 9:45 a.m. What are we looking at for the rest of the day? I know you were talking about storms.
Yeah, we are going to see storms this afternoon. So if you have any outdoor plans and maybe you want to head out to the beach, I encourage you to head out to the beach. Do it now, though, because you only got a window for the next maybe 4 hours. 4 or 5 hours, and then things are really going to start to change quickly. So get outside right now. Hollywood Beach looking like a snack this morning. It's temperatures into the upper 70s. We have plenty of sunshine. Atlantic water's nice and calm. You can't ask for any better beach weather, especially for spring breakers. Get outside and enjoy it now. We are watching some showers offshore. So if you do head out to the beach, you'll see some dark billowing clouds. They're offshore. They're continuing to move away. They're moving towards the Bahamas. So we don't have anything to worry about there. However, later on this afternoon, here's the party pooper. We're going to start seeing some storms developing. It's going to be later in the day, though, so I think you can squeeze beach time till about 2 o'clock. Then after that, things start getting a little bit dicey, especially around 4 o'clock. That's when those showers really start bubbling up after temperatures hit the mid-80s. So we have temperatures in the mid-80s. We have high humidity. We have a front moving down, acting as a forcing mechanism. That's all the ingredients that we can get some severe weather going. So because of that, we do have a marginal risk for severe weather this afternoon, a level 1 out of 5. Major threats are going to be for damaging wind gusts around 50 miles per hour at times in some of the stronger storms. Localized flooding is also possible in some low-lying areas, and small hail can't be ruled out either. So definitely do not want to be at the beach when that's going on. So by 2 o'clock, that's when you want to start heading back towards the indoors. This is all thanks to a dip in the jet stream, allowing for that weak cold front to make its way into South Florida. So because of that, it is giving us a little bit of energy to get these showers going. It's also going to bring us a little bit of a cool down. It's not anything to, run home to mom about. It's only going to drop our high temperatures to the low 80s for Monday and a brief break from humidity. But I think at this point, we'll take anything here in South Florida. It's very quick and short-lived, though, because watch what happens by the middle part of the week. We get this huge dome of high pressure upstairs in the atmosphere, parking itself right on top of us once again. That shifts the jet stream far towards the north. Temperatures heat up. We're talking upper 80s by next Thursday and Friday. However, it's all ahead of our next cold front. Notice this big dip in the jet stream towards the west. That's going to traverse towards the east by Friday. That dip in the jet stream is going to allow a stronger cold front to make its way into South Florida. And that means a bigger cool down for the upcoming weekend. So let's put this all together in the 7-day forecast. Like I mentioned, mid-80s this afternoon, showers and thunderstorms later on today. Definitely want to be inside for that. Low 80s for Monday, a little bit of a brief respite from those high temperatures. Then we are right back into the upper 80s, 50% chance of rain by next Friday with that front. But notice low 60s Saturday morning. I don't think we'll mind that, Syra, Andrew.
Don't mind it at all.
All right, still coming up, the Marlins and Panthers both making really big moves overnight.
And keep smiling how the Hurricane men's and women's basketball teams are getting ready for tough tests at the NCAA tournament.
Good morning, everybody, and happy Sunday. I'm Clay Ferrero with your Local 10 Morning Sports Wrap. South Florida pro teams making big moves last night. The Marlins making a big splash, signing World Series MVP Jorge Soler. He lives in Pembroke Pines, so he didn't exactly have to go too far to sign that deal. Now, Soler gets a 3-year contract. However, he can opt out after this year if he has a good season. On the ice, the Florida Panthers making a big move as well. The Cats adding Flyers captain Claude Giroux. In exchange, the Panthers sending Philadelphia Owen Tippett and some draft picks in the deal. Giroux is a 7-time All-Star. Players say that Miami Hurricanes men's basketball coach Jim Larrañaga is as happy as they've seen him as they get set to take on Auburn later on today for a spot in the Sweet 16. And Larrañaga doesn't dispute that, but he says he wants them to be happy too because they've earned this moment.
We've gone a few years without being to the dance. These guys have worked very, very hard to get our program back to the big dance, and I'm enjoying it. I want them to enjoy it.
That game will be at 7:45 tonight. As for the Canes women's team, they are taking on a dominant South Carolina squad tonight that is also playing on its own home floor. But this Canes team is not intimidated. They've played some very tough teams this year, and they say they will be ready.
Honestly, I don't feel intimidated. We've been here before and we're just gonna go out there and work. We've been in this situation, we outworked them, and I think we're capable of winning if we play Miami basketball.
And that game will be at 3. I'm Clay Ferrero, and that is your Local 10 Morning Sports Wrap.
The pandemic forced a lot of restaurants to rethink how they operate, with many people opting to take out instead of dine in.
I know I'm one of those people, okay? Now Applebee's is actually testing out something new that has it looking a little bit more like a fast food restaurant. The restaurant just opened its first drive-through window service in Texas. However, you will not be able to place your order in line like McDonald's or Taco Bell just yet. You'll still have to do that ahead of time. It's meant to streamline getting people food. Just get it out once it's ready, right away. So basically, it's kind of like curbside pickup.
Yeah.
You know what? Give me a call then once you guys let me order in line.
Iron that all out.
Iron it out. I'll be back. Still coming up after the break, Jordan has your first day of spring forecast.
But first, here's Hunter Franke with a preview of what's coming up today in SoFlo Health.
Join me, Hunter Franke, this week on SoFlo Health for an unusual allergy remedy, a yacht tour, and an 80-year-old orange grove hidden in a local park.
So today on SoFlo Health, Hunter is stepping into the past, exploring one of South Florida's best-kept secrets.
Yes, Hunter Franke. He's got tips on how to massage away sinus congestion and where to find hidden sugars in your food. SoFlo Health follows This Week in South Florida today at 12:30 on Local 10.